Thank you so much, Baby Depo, for joining us at this time on Indicate.
Thank you so much for having me once again. It's always a pleasure to join you on the show.
And it's always a pleasure to have you. This IJA initiative is getting me a bit worried. Now, I'm beginning to wonder if those players who make up the Flamingos, if they're not from any states in this country. Because if they want to represent their states in the football action, the women's football action, why deprive them with this, invited junior athletes initiative, Baby Depo? Don't you think it's something to worry about?
Well, I don't think it's something to worry about. If you ask me, okay. I think it's a beautiful idea. The IJA initiative, it's a beautiful one. The junior athletes initiative, it gives room for us to, see our next generation of talented superstars, upcoming superstars as well. And I think, them representing their states, how are we sure that these fantastic athletes would even qualify, would even make the team to their states? Because we do not know the selection process for their states as well. And do they even have, their age range? Talking about the other 17 team, how sure are we that they would make their state's team as well? These are the questions that continue to come to mind. And that's why it is an avenue for this new generation of players, these teenagers, to come out there and display what they can do amongst the big boys. And I think that's why the IJA initiative for me is a very beautiful one. But I just hope it's, at the end of the day, it produces the results that we are expecting, which is a sort of exposure to these young talents. But if you ask me, I think a couple of these players at the under 17 level have gone beyond this exposure of the National Sports Festival. Some of them played at the last World Cup where they won bronze. And, I think some of these players should be given exceptions, if you ask me, because I don't think there's any exposure that they want to get at the World Cup.
I beg your pardon. You mean that these players should be part of the 38th state? Bronze medal winning players, they should be part of the 38th state. What advantage do you think others will have ahead of them?
That's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying. I am saying that some of those players, like you mentioned, bronze medal winning at the World Cup, are definitely should be given exception to this National Sports Festival, because there's nothing you want to expose them to at National Sports Festival that they've not seen something better at the World Cup. So probably the new set of players coming into the Flamingos team, the under 17 side can definitely come and prosecute these games. But those that have been at the World Cup before, I don't see any reason why they should be at these games.
So that's my own, I'm still confused about this invited junior athletes initiative. I'm still very much confused, because if you're saying that Flamingos will play under the IJA initiative, you're talking about Harmony Chidi. Harmony Chidi represents Imo State. So you're depriving Imo State, my dear beloved Imo State, Harmony Chidi, that will score us the goals. Now, I'm still confused, but I think it's a conversation for a later day, or we have that conversation on Game On 9 p.m. West African time. Because of time, we have to go right now more. Let's talk a bit of basketball, where we hear that Nigeria has been seeded in pot 3 alongside Egypt, with the full qualifiers spanning 6 windows, of course, for the FIBA World Cup qualifiers. Now we have this is going to happen from November 2025 to March 2027. South Sudan and Cote d'Ivoire, they lead in the rankings in pot 1, reflecting their recent strong showings. Angola and Tunisia, they're in pot 2, while Egypt joins Nigeria, as I did say earlier, in pot 3. Cape Verde and defending AfroBasket champion Senegal, they're in pot 4. Cameroon and DR Congo take pot 5. Guinea and Mali are in pot 6. Uganda, Rwanda occupy pot 7. The list goes on and on and on, with Libya and Madagascar in pot 8. Now, these are the pots that have been revealed ahead of the FIBA Basketball World Cup qualifiers, where African teams will also make their showing. Would know where what opponents that Nigeria, that's if we have to get off our troubles from the Nigerian Basketball Federation and other African countries, what opponents that they will be going head-to-head against. All right, let's tell you that India's cricket board has reportedly suspended the ongoing India Premier League due to escalating tensions between India and Pakistan. The decision made over concerns about player safety and appropriateness of the hosting of a major sporting event during a time of conflict. It follows violent exchanges alongside the border. Now, although Thursday's IPL match was halted officially due to a power outage, fighting in Dar es Salaam, the region coincided with the disruption that they are experiencing. The current season, which began on March 22 and was set to conclude in May 25, featured games across 13 venues. Tensions between the two nuclear-armed nations flared after India conducted strikes on a alleged terrorist site in Pakistan, prompting some retaliation. The attacks coming from, of course, Pakistan. The Cricket Board has not yet issued any official public statement, but we await a reaction from the India Cricket Board. Now it's time to talk European football. Great conversation, as I did say, miracle, not a tired Jesus, and a miracle happened at Old Trafford over there with the trophy on parade. I have with me, Mary Depo joining Verzum, I have my colleague with me, a producer with News Central TV. I've got, of course, Collins joining me in the studio. Collins, the Manchester United fan in blue. You didn't come representing at all.
I'm in solidarity with my brothers in the Europa League, in the European Conference League, actually.
So why would you be in the Europa League and you be in solidarity with people in Conference?
Well, you know, when the big boys are winning, we support each other, aside the pretenders who
what a day. Let me bring in Bemi Depo this time. Bemi Depo, if you're still with me, at least I know that you're wearing something that's got a shade of red. So you are a true red devil right now. But Collins is not representing at all. I am in red. I'm in red. Come on.
It's not always about the color.
Bemi Depo, did you hear him? Say that again.
Said it's not about the color.
It's about the color.
I can't be wearing red every day.
Even the day when you make the final.
Yeah, definitely. I am sure that when Manchester United considered the first goal yesterday, you know, probably if you had put on the jersey, you'd have removed it.
Actually, I was wearing the jersey, the white jersey, and I removed it because the heat was so much. And
I was so shocked.
It was something else.
All right, but I think the tension is down the bit right now with the fact that you've booked the ticket to the final of the Europa League for this season. Manchester United have reached that final, but boy, they did make it hard for themselves. A 7-1 aggregate win over understrength Athletic Club sounds convincing until you watch the first 70 minutes of that encounter at Old Trafford. Now, leading 3-0 from the first leg, United still looked a bit jittery, disjointed, and anything but confident in the encounter until a raft of substitutions were made to change the tide. Mason Mount! Hear the name and no peace. Mason Mount finally scored his first goal at Old Trafford nearly 2 years after joining from Chelsea. And the relief was really palpable for fans like Collins and Bemi Depo. 3 goals in the final stretch from Casemiro, Højlund, and also Højlund, and Mason Mount again turned the night into a celebration. But manager Ruben Amorim, he was very brutal, very honest during the post-match. He said, United has got so many weaknesses, so many. I am tired. The load is just above me. But this United, 9th major European final for them, and they've done well on the European scene, of course, unbeaten. But it comes at a time when both they and Spurs are in the 15th and 16th position, respectively, in the Premier League. Baby Depo, let's have this conversation with Collins. Now, of course, 12 years after the speakable time, as Alex Ferguson would say, after he retired, you've never, ever been able to have glory days under the likes of David Moyes, under the likes of Eric Ten Hag, Ralf Rangnick, Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. It's been just back-to-back, retrogression, as they would say it. But Amorim is here. Do you see hope with this final ticket in your hand, Bemi Depo?
Well, I think the term glory days, it depends on what you describe as glory days, right? Because I've seen some fantastic football being played, at Manchester United, even after the exit of Sir Alex Ferguson. Believe you me, I think under Mourinho, Manchester United played one of the best footballs. Even if people call it was a devilish setup, due to the defensive tactical acumen of Jose Mourinho, and also under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Manchester United also had, played some fantastic football. The problem with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was the fact that he couldn't just win any trophy. He finished second, third, lost a couple of finals, and that was where, the board had issues with him. The players were doing very well. They were having fantastic, partnerships among the trio between Anthony Martial, Rashford, Lingard then. So, they were scoring goals, but they were not winning trophies.
All right, all right, I need to, because you're proud right now. You're just, you're gloating over the fact that you've had wonderful players, even after Sir Alex Ferguson. But Collins, you nearly bottled 3-0 at Old Trafford.
Well, you can say that again. But then the United team is one team that has not been playing as expected this season. I know Ruben Amorim came with a different style of play, playing 3 at the back, and we sort of have players who are deficient in their expectations. But nevertheless, we've seen them come out on their good days and play what Ruben Amorim wants. And going back to history, I think after Sir Alex Ferguson, we've had quite some good times at on the European stage. I mean, Mourinho won the Europa League in 2015, I think.
And when he won that, the dust that came out from your gallery, the whole of Manchester, covered the whole of Manchester.
On the European stage, yes, that's the only one, though we lost the final with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. But then we've been winning a couple of cups here and there.
A couple of cups and mugs.
Well.
but I need to, I'm just a bit happy. I'm only happy for one player, Mason Mount, who finally scored at Old Trafford. So, Bemideko, will you call that a miracle or a sign of good things to come? Or is it a one-off?
Well, I think it's more or less like a new signing for Manchester United at this point, getting Mason Mount, in fine form. I think he has paid probably 500k out of the 60 million that was paid.
Wow.
For him. With the goal he scored yesterday, I think he has paid, partially 500k. Then we can look forward to better performances probably to the end of the season or ahead of next season. That is if he remains fit. I think my problem with Mason Mount at Manchester United is the fact that he has not been able to remain fit and get himself keyed into the side. I think with better performances, better game time, we would see a better Mason Mount at Manchester United, and he can live up to the billing of the 60 million that was paid when he was signed at the club.
All right, Collins, your coach says that you've got so many weaknesses. So many weaknesses. Is this a fair talk, or is just him being very salty since there's this exit talk going around in Manchester?
I don't think it's any news. Anybody that's watched Manchester United would know that we have lots of weaknesses. Our players,
you agree?
Our players get quickly zoned out. They sort of forget that they're on the pitch, and sometimes they just realize it. Before you know it, Onana has conceded. But I think he's just being honest. We can see it. We really need. I love the fact he says it. We really need someone who will hit it on the nail, say it as it is. There's no need sugarcoating. Eric Ten Hag was sugarcoating it for everybody. We've had other coaches who have tried to keep quiet, but now he's saying it is letting the board also know that these are where we're lacking. We need to reinforce. There are players who need to leave, and there's some players who need to step up.
What player again needs to leave? Because we've had players leave. We've had the likes of Mason Greenwood, yes, issues, left the club. Rashford left the club.
Anthony on loan.
So who else needs to leave?
We have some players that would really
Anthony Martial also
change. No, Anthony Martial has left. From the defense line, Johnny Evans is leaving. Obviously, we have Victor Lindelof, who's also likely to leave. Should leave. In my opinion, he should leave.
Bemideko, you believe he should leave too?
Okay. Very quickly, when it comes to players leaving the club, for me, if you would ask me, I think there are some players that have left that should still remain at the club. The likes of Massimo Greenwood, for me, I think it is just, should I say, the brand pressure or societal pressure that made Massimo Greenwood leave Manchester United. This is a player that we are still missing at this point. So I think it's one of the biggest misses at Manchester United at this point. Imagine a Massimo Greenwood under Amorim, with what he wants to play at Manchester United, I think he would do very, very well. And I would agree with my colleague right there. I would agree with him with the fact that, Lindelof should leave. And I like what Amorim is doing at this point. He's showing other clubs why you need to sign Lindelof. And, it's giving these players ample time to actually promote themselves. And, get a club that can buy them for good money. So which for me is a very good thing. So whether Manchester United as a club lose the final games, to the end of the season, for me it is no big deal as long as these players start losing the games, can find a better club they can go to, or any other club they can go to, and this guy gets the players he wants. And I think it would have been a good season for me.
I think I'll also add. Whether they lose the rest of the games in the league, I wouldn't mind. But as long as that final day, they should nail it. If not for anything, for Bruno Fernandes, he deserves that Europa League trophy.
Okay, but right now you've been able to give English teams 6 slots in the UEFA Champions League, and that's a great one because 2 English teams making it to the Europa League final is something not really far-fetched. But Collins, Bemidepo, Champions League next season, are you ready? Or is this, all these things we're saying right now, they're just vibes? Because we're not done with your complaint about Onana and how he has been for the club. We're not done with your complaint about players. Maguire is not the reason for the season again. He doesn't need to be required anymore. We are done with that. Are you ready for Champions League, or this is just vibes? Collins, let me begin with you.
Okay, so just like we started this season, it didn't look like United were ready for the Europa League, and here we are, we're heading to Bilbao. So I think for the Champions League, the team already sees where they're lacking. Players will leave, players will come in. So I think there'll be a preparation to be like a new atmosphere, a fresh
Are you speaking from a fan's angle, or you have a stake there?
Angle, and I also expect, I also feel like Amorim thinks this way. He knows what he is ambitious. He knows what he wants to achieve, and I believe also he will be bringing in some players that would also want to come play for the badge and also win some laurels. So I think for Champions League we will be ready. I'm not saying we're going to win it, but then we will come ready, come to play for the title, and let's see if we can pull up another finals in the Champions League next season.
All right, let's see if you beat Spurs and you clinched this championship. Will you say this was a fantastic season? The 2024-2025 season was a fantastic season for Manchester United, Bemidepo?
I think it has been far from fantastic. I would say it has been an amusing season. It's been short of amazing as well, because you don't expect that someone placed 15th in the APL, to win the, Europa League. But, it is the game of football. Anything can happen. And at this point in time, I think it would be saving Manchester United's season. And also, if Tottenham should win it as well, definitely it will be saving the manager, who probably will just buy himself another season at the club with a trophy. But I think at this point in time, due to the pedigree and, the heartache Manchester United fans have suffered over the years, I believe, them winning the trophy at this point in time. And also for Bruno Fernandes, it will be a beautiful one. It will be a spring, another spring in their steps ahead of the next season. And if Manchester United is ready for the Champions League next season, the answer for me is a capital no. Manchester United is not ready.
Collins, do you feel the same way?
Needs a serious shuffling as well.
Collins, do you feel the same way?
It's a 50-50 thing. Looking at the team right now, you would say no. But how did we get to the finals of Europa League? So football is unpredictable. Things can happen, things can change. Nobody expected Real Madrid to be out of the Champions League. And Arsenal, who's playing fantastically well, got sent out at the semi-final. So there are things where you predict them to probably clinch the title. At the end of the day, they don't. So you never can tell.
All right. Before I end the show right now, let me bring the trolls that we see from social media and what people are saying concerning Manchester United and also Tottenham Hotspur getting the final of the Europa League for this season. So we can see that there's one at ease. Yes, you can see this particular reaction. It says, your boyfriend husband is a man of Manchester United fan asking for money now because he is very happy. It might be a long while before he gets in this mood again. Yes, ladies, please take advantage. For this reaction says, Liverpool Premier League champions, Manchester City FA Cup final, Manchester United Europa League final, Tottenham Europa League final, Chelsea Conference League final, Newcastle Carabao Cup champions in the season that was set to be theirs. Arsenal trophyless yet again. This one's throwing a jab at Arsenal. But these reactions keep coming in and in over there in the social media platform. But we have to call it a wrap on the show today. Thank you so much, Baby Depo. Thank you, Collins Christopher.